Baytown, Texas. A lot of people there knew 37-year-old Crystal McDowell as this driven real estate agent who always seemed busy, always moving, always juggling work, and being a mom to her 2 kids. But behind that image was a life that had been unbelievably hard from the very beginning. Her parents struggled with drug addiction for years, and she was even named after crystal meth. Both of them died from AIDS-related complications connected to drug use less than 6 months apart, when Crystal was only 11 years old. And somehow, things got even worse after that. A couple of years later, she was kidnapped by a convicted sex offender who kept her locked inside a chicken coop and abused her for an extended period of time before she finally managed to escape and move in with relatives. For most people, surviving trauma like that could completely destroy their future. But Crystal was determined to build a different life for herself. While working as a flight attendant, she met Steve McDowell, a logistics manager who friends described as kind of a big kid, the type of guy who always wanted to joke around and have fun. Before long, the two got married and tried to build a family together. Guys, real quick before we continue, I'm honestly curious where everyone's watching from. Tell me what city you're in and what time it is for you right now. Thanks for hanging out here with me. Drop it in the comments, and let's keep going.
What are you doing today?
About to jump out of a perfectly
Jumping
good airplane.
out of a plane. Whose idea was this?
Steve.
Steve, your idea?
How high are we right now? What does that say?
6,000 feet.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Tom, hey, high five. Hey, look, your husband lived too. What a bonus.
One thing people later admitted was that the happy social media version of their marriage really wasn't the full story. Even back when Crystal was still working in aviation, she had cheated on Steve with both men and women, and that caused serious problems between them almost from the start. There were periods where she left him completely, and at one point she even filed for divorce just months after they got married. Still, after their sons Madden and Maui were born, Crystal told people she wanted to make things work for the kids and try to keep the family together. Years later, when she turned 37, she left aviation behind and moved into real estate in Baytown, Texas. Her career started taking off, the kids were getting older, and suddenly the cracks in the marriage that had always been there started reopening again. In June of 2017, after 10 years together, Crystal and Steve officially divorced. Even then, they agreed to continue living under the same roof temporarily while preparing to sell the house, especially because Crystal was renovating a townhouse of her own at the time. Not long after the divorce, Crystal started dating a local jeweler named Paul Hargrave, who had recently gone through a divorce himself. She kept the relationship pretty private, but friends said they hadn't seen her this happy in years. It genuinely felt like she was entering a brand new chapter of her life. Her work was thriving, the kids were doing okay, and for the first time in a long while, everything seemed to finally be falling into place. The night before, Crystal had stayed over at Paul's house after they went out together. That morning, Paul got into the shower while she packed up and prepared to leave. Security cameras inside and outside the house captured Crystal gathering her belongings and getting into her black Mercedes. She planned to pick up the kids from Steve and then head out to several appointments afterward. Before driving away, she texted Paul saying there was basically no traffic that morning and that she might take the kids somewhere later if they felt like going out. She told him to have a good day and called him sweet. Paul answered with a message saying he loved her and would always support her. Around 1 p.m, he texted her again just to check in and ask if she needed anything. There was no reply. At first, it didn't seem that strange. Maybe she got caught up with the kids. Maybe meetings were taking longer than expected. Things happen. But later that evening, Crystal was supposed to meet up with family members to watch the huge Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor fight together. Paul sent another message saying he was really worried about her and hoped she was okay. Still nothing. She never showed up. Her uncle Jeff, who had helped raise her since childhood, eventually contacted police.
Chambers County Sheriff's Office. my niece. No one can get a hold of her. No one has heard from her. And I'm really concerned.
While investigators were just beginning to piece things together, something enormous suddenly pulled attention and resources away from everything else happening in Texas. For days, grocery stores across the southern part of the state had been almost completely emptied as people rushed to buy food, water, and supplies. Everyone knew a storm was coming, but what they didn't fully realize yet was how devastating it would become. Meteorologists had just confirmed it was now officially a Category 4 hurricane.
This is an ABC News special report. Hurricane Harvey.
We are coming on the air for breaking news. Hurricane Harvey barreling into the Texas coastline as a Category 4 storm with 130-mile-an-hour winds. It's the first Category 4 storm to hit the U.S. in over a decade, threatening record rain totals of up to 35 inches throughout much of Texas that could render some areas uninhabitable for months. More than 150,000 people at this hour plunged into darkness. The president declaring a federal disaster for the state, and we are already hearing reports of significant damage, of collapsed buildings, of people perhaps trapped under the rubble.
When I opened the door, more water rushed in, and all of my stuff flew out, and it just kept coming in. All I could grab was my wallet and my phone. That's all I knew to grab.
What started as a tropical wave near Africa had transformed into Hurricane Harvey, and around 10 p.m. on August 25th, it slammed directly into Texas. In those final hours before landfall, people were still underestimating how bad things could get. Then the destruction began. Winds stronger than 130 miles per hour ripped through communities. Massive flooding forced more than 30,000 people out of their homes. 57 tornadoes touched down across 6 states, and more than 100 people died in the United States alone. Harvey became the deadliest hurricane to hit Texas since 1919 and the deadliest hurricane in America since Hurricane Sandy back in 2012. As conditions worsened, Crystal's family and friends became even more terrified, but deep down they already felt this wasn't just a storm-related disappearance. Something else had happened to her, and they couldn't shake that feeling.
It has been days since the mysterious disappearance of a Houston area realtor. Crystal McDowell was last heard from August 25th, shortly before Harvey hit Houston.
On the third day of the investigation, Crystal's cousin Jade received a message saying someone had spotted Crystal's Mercedes sitting in the parking lot of a Motel 6. Attached to the message was a photo showing the car partially submerged in floodwater, but the license plate was still visible.
See this black car right here? This Mercedes? The cops were here busting in doors to find out where this lady is.
Crystal McDowell's car was found submerged in a Motel 6 parking lot about 13 miles from her home. Friends and family don't believe her absence is flood-related.
Even with dangerous flooding everywhere, investigators made their way to the motel. The car looked abandoned in a very strange way. It had been carelessly parked, the doors were unlocked, and the keys had been left inside the ignition. Detectives immediately felt something was off. It almost looked staged, like whoever left the vehicle there wanted someone to steal it. Sheriff Brian Hawthorne later explained that they didn't believe Crystal had parked it herself. The vehicle was left open with the keys visible, almost like bait. Investigators pulled the Mercedes out of the floodwater using an airboat and sent it for forensic testing, hoping the water hadn't destroyed every possible clue.
Now, a lot of people are wondering if the bizarre timing of her disappearance was the perfect storm to cover up a crime.
This morning, the desperate search for a Houston real estate agent and mother of 2, Crystal McDowell, posting on Facebook, "Stay safe out there," the night before she was last seen. According to her boyfriend, Paul Hargraves, this home security video shows her the next morning heading out of his house and getting into her car on her way to pick up her kids from her ex-husband, who lives about 20 minutes away.
These messages, basically that the roads were clear of what to do in preparation of the storm.
Hargraves showed us his last text message exchange with McDowell. Her last text message to Hargraves was, "And you are so sweet."
She wouldn't just get up and leave her kids. She wouldn't do that. So I think something's horribly wrong.
I think that there was probably some animosity between boyfriends and husbands, and the husband probably might think the boyfriend had something to do with it, the boyfriend might think the husband had something to do with it.
As detectives dug deeper, they focused on three men closest to Crystal: her boyfriend Paul, her uncle Jeff, and her ex-husband Steve. Both Paul and Jeff appeared publicly in emotional media interviews, begging for answers.
And our main objective is just to get Crystal back home.
I hope and pray that, she's okay and she's going to come back to us.
What do you think happened to her?
I'm not sure. I don't know. But we're just trying to focus on finding her and assisting the police with whatever we can assist them with.
At one point, investigators became frustrated with Jeff because he and other relatives entered Crystal's townhouse and started going through her belongings, which technically could have interfered with evidence. Jeff insisted he was just desperate to help. Paul explained that on the morning Crystal disappeared, he had been in the shower and never actually saw her leave the house. Security footage backed up his story. But detectives did find one thing suspicious. It took several days before the surveillance footage reached police. For reasons nobody really understood, Paul gave the footage to the media before handing it over to investigators. Still, from everything police could determine, Crystal and Paul seemed genuinely happy together. Just 2 days before disappearing, she posted online saying she had never been happier in her life and that God had been so good to her. Then there was Steve. Steve told investigators Crystal had texted him saying she was on her way over and asking if he had enough water because she might stay there with the kids during the storm. Since everyone was preparing for severe weather, that message didn't immediately raise suspicion. But then Steve showed police another message supposedly sent from Crystal to her uncle Jeff, saying she planned to grab the kids and drive to Dallas. Jeff later confirmed they had briefly discussed leaving town because of the hurricane, but Crystal never officially told him she was actually going. Friends and relatives described Steve as increasingly obsessive after the divorce. Crystal's aunt said he would have done anything Crystal asked of him, but his behavior had become unhealthy and overwhelming. One friend described him as manipulative and self-centered, someone who always needed control and wanted things done immediately. According to people close to Crystal, she had started feeling trapped in the relationship for years. She was the primary breadwinner while Steve constantly spent money, creating major financial pressure on her. Back in 2008, Crystal had once tried to divorce Steve before changing her mind after he threatened suicide. Years later, during another separation, she even called 911 in panic after Steve disappeared with the children while making similar threats again. So, when Crystal told him in early 2017 that she truly wanted a divorce this time, people close to him said he was devastated. His older daughter from another marriage, Krista, later explained that Steve still deeply loved Crystal. Even after she vanished, he continued wearing his wedding ring. Krista described their relationship as unstable and toxic, saying they constantly drove each other crazy. She also noticed disturbing behavior from her father after the breakup. He changed his social media profile picture to the Grim Reaper and updated his Facebook banner to read "In Loving Memory." At one point, Crystal invited her new boyfriend Paul on a family cruise that Steve had originally planned to attend to. Crystal eventually asked Steve not to go because it would be too uncomfortable. What nobody realized was that Steve had secretly planned to propose to her again during that trip. He simply refused to accept the divorce. Despite all of that, detectives initially described Steve as cooperative, polite, and eager to help. He spent hours at the police station every single day. Both he and Paul voluntarily agreed to polygraph tests. Steve failed his. Paul said he never received official results, but investigators aggressively accused him of hiding something. Of course, polygraph tests aren't legally reliable, so none of that alone could prove anything. Crystal's family hired a private investigator. Jeff offered a $10,000 reward, and Paul added another $5,000. Police publicly stated they were now treating Crystal's disappearance as a possible homicide case. Sheriff Hawthorne made it clear that Hurricane Harvey was not believed to be responsible for what happened to her. Paul agreed completely, saying Crystal would never willingly abandon her children. Former FBI agents assisting the case also pointed out there was no evidence she had been depressed, suicidal, or planning to disappear voluntarily. But between the chaos of the hurricane and the complicated web of people surrounding her, the investigation slowed almost to a standstill.
We've got a handful of folks that need to be interviewed. What else do you guys see that's up on this board that we need to get done? Because this stuff's going to start drying up on us if we don't jump on it.
Paul is just soaking up all the attention.
Yeah, he is. And
he loves it.
And he's best buddies with Uncle Jeff, too. That's what I don't understand. It's getting more and more interesting about Uncle Jeff, isn't it?
Days passed with absolutely nothing. No phone activity, no bank transactions, no sign she was alive anywhere. The district attorney, Cheryl Leak, eventually admitted she believed Crystal was already dead. Meanwhile, Steve, Paul, and Jeff continued accusing each other in different ways. Paul suspected Steve, Jeff distrusted Paul. Steve claimed he knew nothing except that Crystal never arrived to pick up the children. Investigators eventually returned to the area near the motel where Crystal's car had been discovered. This time they gained access to surveillance footage from nearby buildings and businesses. According to the footage, someone abandoned Crystal's Mercedes there at 6:37 in the morning on August 26, 2017. The person walking away from the vehicle looked similar to Steve, but the footage quality was too poor to confirm it. Then detectives found cameras from a nearby gas station. Roughly 5 hours after the Mercedes had been left at the motel, another car pulled into the station. A man got out and shoved something deep into a trash can, almost aggressively forcing it down where nobody could easily see it. This time, investigators were confident about the identity. It was Steve McDowell. After tossing the object away, he lingered nearby and repeatedly glanced toward the motel parking lot. Detectives believed he was checking whether Crystal's car was still there. Their theory was that whoever abandoned the Mercedes had intentionally left the keys inside, hoping someone would steal it. If not for the hurricane and flooding, that probably would have happened. Unfortunately, the trash can had flooded too, and whatever Steve discarded was gone forever. Later, when police visited Steve's house, they noticed a bicycle. Steve claimed he had gone to Walmart that morning. Investigators reviewed Walmart surveillance footage and found video of a man resembling Steve wearing a hooded sweatshirt, purchasing a bicycle with cash before riding it through the rain near the location where Crystal's car had been abandoned. And still, it was all circumstantial evidence, and they needed more. Steve denied being the man on the bike, and without a clear facial image or traceable payment, investigators had to back off temporarily. At that point, Crystal had been missing for 10 days. Eventually, the rain finally eased, and floodwaters began pulling back, allowing search and rescue teams to properly access areas that had been impossible to reach earlier.
Angelica, I know they've been looking for her for weeks now. What can you tell us?
Well, we checked in with them. They say there's no movement on her bank account or her passport. The sheriff here says that the search area is in West Chambers County and in Baytown, rather. They say the thinking is that she's still in this area.
Do I think there's potential foul play involved in it? Yes, I do.
And with each passing day, Sheriff Hawthorne says that concern grows. Crystal McDowell was last heard from on Friday, August 25th, through a text message to her uncle.
Stating that about a billboard her boyfriend had put up for her, and that was it. That was the last time I heard from her.
He immediately reached out for help, and then Hurricane Harvey slammed into the area. Right now, they're combing through surveillance videos from businesses and personal surveillance videos from homes. Loved ones say McDowell has been living in the Legends Bay subdivision with her ex-husband and 2 small children, but had moved on with a new boyfriend.
She was on top of the world. She had said herself she was the happiest she had ever been in her life.
And because of that, they don't believe she would have left on her own. And the sheriff says they're looking at several persons of interest, and he says he's confident that answers could be coming soon. Live in Chambers County, I'm Angelica Alvarez for 13 Eyewitness News.
Paul and Jeff actively helped with search efforts. Steve did not. Prosecutors made the decision to remove Madden and Maui from Steve's home and place them with Crystal's aunt, Cindy. Investigators believed Steve was emotionally collapsing, and they hoped losing custody of the children might finally push him into telling the truth. Every day he came into the station looking worse exhausted, pale, barely holding himself together. When detectives informed him the children were now with Cindy, he nearly fainted. He said he wanted to go home, but promised he would return the next morning and finally tell the truth. That night, Steve texted his daughter Krista asking her to come see him because, in his words, they might never see each other again. Around 3 a.m, she arrived and directly asked him whether he had anything to do with Crystal's disappearance. At first, he repeatedly denied it. But hours later, he quietly admitted investigators had told him they might reduce his punishment if he revealed where Crystal's body was located. Krista immediately replied that he didn't know where the body was. Then Steve softly answered, "What if I do?" After saying that, he looked away and started crying. Eventually, Steve made a deal. He agreed to confess and lead police to Crystal's body if prosecutors removed the death penalty as a possible sentence and allowed him one final visit with his children. Authorities agreed.
My understanding from our communication was that you were kind of ready to be honest about some things.
I love her. I would do anything in my life for her.
Steve confessed that he and Crystal had argued that morning after she told him she no longer loved him. According to him, he snapped. He grabbed her from behind and strangled her in a burst of rage. He insisted the killing had not been planned beforehand.
Yeah. That when she told you that she didn't love you anymore?
Yeah.
When she told you she didn't want to be with you, had anything to do with you?
Easter. But my money were over there.
Okay, like a chokehold or something? Did she say anything when that was going on, or did you fight, or what happened?
Just was scaring her.
How did you eventually know that she was no longer alive?
Afterward, he covered her face with a plastic bag, wrapped her body in a blanket, and placed her inside the trunk of her own car.
I covered her face with a bag.
And then you put her in the car?
I tied her up, put her in the trash bags, and put her in the car.
He dumped her body in a marshy area and abandoned the Mercedes, hoping someone would steal it. He later said, "I didn't want to kill her. I love her. I would give anything to bring her back." Just over 2 weeks after Crystal disappeared, investigators finally found her body. Steve personally led them directly to it.
Today at 2:45 p.m., Crystal's body was discovered, and Stephen Wayne McDowell, 44, has been arrested, charged with murder.
Detectives later admitted that without Steve's confession, Crystal's remains might never have been discovered. Honestly, if her disappearance had been reported even one day later after Hurricane Harvey completely overwhelmed the region, the investigation might have gone in a completely different direction. The Mercedes probably would have been stolen, and investigators never would have been able to trace events through surveillance footage. And who knows if the case would have ever been solved at all.
New twist in that murder case in Houston, a mother of two vanishing just hours before Hurricane Harvey hit. Now, her ex-husband is under arrest.
Steve McDowell heads to court today, charged with first-degree murder. Not only do police say they found Crystal McDowell's body, but in a surprising turn, they say her ex-husband confessed.
Now police say after questioning her ex-husband for days, Steve McDowell tearfully admitted to murdering the mother of his two children.
Once I got that call, I was in a state of shock and denial. So just trying to deal with it the best way I can. I had my suspicions from day one. I can't say that I was honestly that surprised, given the arguments they had the week prior of her missing.
Wearing shackles, Stephen McDowell seemed to hold back tears as he appeared in court for the first time.
Everything in the investigation leads to us that he acted alone.
Police finally located the 37-year-old's body in a wooded area Saturday. The hurricane hampered the search effort. McDowell's uncle, Jeff Walters, had reported her missing.
Her parents died when she was young, and I guess I'm the closest one to her in the family. She's like my daughter.
Her autopsy was performed yesterday, and right now we still don't have a motive. Charlie?
Omar, thanks.
44-year-old Steve McDowell was charged with first-degree murder. His defense argued the killing happened in the heat of passion, which under Texas law can lead to a lighter sentence than premeditated murder. If That argument succeeded. Steve could have received only a few years in prison. Steve claimed the incident began as a spontaneous hug that spiraled out of control. Prosecutors strongly disagreed. They argued he acted intentionally, driven by anger over Crystal leaving him, jealousy toward Paul, and resentment over financial issues. During trial, prosecutors called the couple's daughter, Maui, as a witness. In recorded testimony, she described hearing intense arguments between her parents about Crystal being involved with another man. According to Maui, Crystal said she planned to leave and take the children with her. Steve allegedly shoved her onto the bed and told her she wasn't going anywhere. Maui testified that she watched her father physically attack her mother. She remembered him looking at her angrily while Crystal tried to call for help. During the struggle, Maui saw Steve covering Crystal's mouth and nose with his hands while she struggled to breathe. Afterwards, Steve ordered the child to stay in her room and never tell anyone what she had witnessed. The heat of passion defense failed completely. Steve McDowell was convicted and sentenced to 50 years in prison. He will not become eligible for parole until 2042. Later, Paul said he believed Steve absolutely knew what he was doing. He thought Steve understood the approaching hurricane could help destroy evidence and cover his tracks. Paul also admitted he carried guilt, feeling like his relationship with Crystal may have influenced Steve's actions. After the trial, charity fundraisers were organized to help support the children's future. One bakery campaign donated 100% of proceeds from a dessert called the Crystal Special toward the Kids' Education Fund. Jeff later said Crystal was a light that would never go out. And her best friend Bronze admitted the hardest part was realizing she would never again receive another text from Crystal, hear her voice on the phone, or watch their children celebrate birthdays together. The strange thing about life is that most important moments happen while we assume tomorrow will look exactly the same as today. The same people, the same birthdays, the same holidays. The same future plans sitting comfortably ahead of us. And because of that, we rarely stop to imagine what life would feel like without those people around. Until one day, suddenly, they're gone.